There's way too much on my plate. I got way too much stuff going on. My wife's already all over me. I already travel too much. I can't spend time away from my family, and my business won't function without me. These are the most typical sales objections you get from everyone all the time once you get past price. And that's what we're going to be talking about in this episode. Marissa, what are some of the big things that we're going to cover this time?
Boy, other objections like I'm uncertain about the economy in the near future. I'm not sure I can commit to this. We're also going to talk about before, during, and after frames, what to say when people ask for a payment plan, and how to differentiate your service offerings from other groups, other masterminds.
All right. And this is episode 2 of the Sales Objection Conversation for Strategic Coach, Capability Amplifier. We're going to dissect the most common challenges you have and give you word-for-word scripts, and also a link where you can go to download the transcripts so you can adapt and use everything we're sharing with you in your business, no matter what your product or service is. You're also going to learn a big idea called the Mary Kay Close. It's how you can get anyone to want more of you. All that and more in this episode of Capability Amplifier. Welcome to another episode of Capability Amplifier. I'm Mike Koenigs. I'm here today with a very special guest, the interviewess, and the goddess of synthesis and integration herself, Marissa Brassfield. Hi.
Hello. Hi. It's so great to be back. And I left our last conversation feeling really energized about sales and overcoming objections.
Yes. And we covered a whole bunch of core objections, which are the classic ones. It's too expensive, and variations of that theme. And we talked about some of the mechanisms. Now, if you haven't listened to or watched that particular episode, you definitely want to go back, because we give you some language and some framing and some psychology that we're not going to cover a second time. And by the way, if you want a fast way of getting through this, we're making the transcript available. It's at paidforlife.com/salesobjection. And of course, you can hit that, and it's in the description of both our podcast interview as well as on the YouTube if you're watching the video. So with this, our goal is to guide you through how to create a reusable sales process that you and your salespeople can use. You have a consistent message and something that brings people to you with hands raised. These are highly qualified prospects saying, I already know I want to work with you. How do we start working together? It seems like you are exactly the right thing at the right time that I need so much. So Marissa, I'll let you take it away from here.
Yeah, and before we get started, something that I was thinking about from last episode is the importance of gathering client testimonials and transformation stories, because in so many of your examples, Mike, you referenced a very specific transformation that a client went through. And so if you're not asking those questions and getting those stories, it's so much harder to get them afterward.
Right. And I will tell you that when we work together and we do what we call Vision Day with the Superpower Accelerator, one of the things that I want from every single person we work with is for you to be able to go out and share a transformational journey. In other words, tell me a story about the best client you've ever had, and what was the before, the during, and the after story. In other words, what was life like before the product and service? What was the experience like of going through the process or consuming the product or whatever it happens to be? And then what is life like now? One of the ways we gather those, and when you and I are working together, for example, Marissa, and when we're working with Strategic Coach, what we're doing right now is going out and either interviewing people and asking them those questions. And one of the best things you can ever do is ask them to hold out their phone and tell their brief story. You give them a little narrative. In our case, we give them a little video describing how to get the best quality and overcome their fear of being on camera, even though it's their phone. Tell their story and then submit it to us. That can be the most effective way, first of all, to overcome an objection by sharing a transformational story that someone has that's real and authentic, or being able to just tell their story. But what's important is that you reflect a client's experience back to a prospect in their own language. Okay. One of the biggest challenges I see is messaging where you're projecting your own perspective, your own language patterns, your own vocabulary on someone, and it feels inauthentic. It feels unnatural. And that's one of the core ways that salespeople lose their client right away. They are not speaking from an empathic point of view. Empathy and compassion is one of the key secrets to getting people to raise their hand and have that moment of, wow, it feels like you're speaking directly to me. It felt like you've worked with someone just like me before. I really appreciate it. And that's the reason I'm here today.
Amazing.
So
even that will improve your sales conversations. But let's get into the objections.
Let's do it. What's the next objection we have?
So no matter who your audience is, entrepreneurs or everyone is burned out and overwhelmed. So the objection is, I can't give the program, the service, sufficient headspace. There's just too much on my plate.
I'm too busy. All right. So the best way of doing that is I reply, so how long has that been going on? Is this a habit that you're stuck in? Is this a behavior? Is this a discipline? Okay. Being too busy and living in chaos is a behavior. It's a habit. It's a mindset. And what I would respond to as a strategic coach salesperson, if it were me, is I'd say, if that's where you are right now, that's exactly why you need to join Strategic Coach. Dan has tools, systems, and resources to overcome those challenges. After being in business 35 years, having over 35,000 business owners go through the program, and their retention's insane. There are some people who've been in the program all 35 years. There's over 50 of them, okay? Something's got to be going on that's working here. And what I want you to know is, even though you're an individual and you have your own challenges, the problems you have are not unique. Every single entrepreneur has these. And unless you have someone from the outside helping you with them, you can't see the real core source problem. So if you're in a state of overwhelm, or you lack a team, or you don't have the time, or you know you have a time management system problem and you don't have right fit people, that's exactly why you need to join this. And if you are feeling a sense of pushback or a tendency towards a reaction and a response, it's because you're in a state of overwhelm, and you're going to stay there until you break out of this pattern. That's the point of this. So my question for you is, let's say you spend 1 day a quarter, and in exchange, you get 12 days back. What would that be worth to you? Because in our experience, the average Strategic Coach member starts seeing them getting 1 day a week of free time set up that you can use however you want. If you want to increase your income or your revenue, that's fine. But what if you got that time to spend with your family? Because what are you doing all this for anyway? Okay. What kind of freedom is more important to you right now, and purpose? So if you listen to our first episode, you'll know that we talked about asking the Dan Sullivan question and what we call the DOS question, which are your dangers, opportunities, and strengths. I've found that by gathering data, asking questions, I'm able to present their values, their challenges, their specific language back to them in their own words. Because first of all, they know I'm listening, but also they feel heard and understood. And the first way, you can't influence anyone if they feel judged, but they certainly will be influenced if they hear their own language patterns and their words and their values being reflected to them. It opens up their heart. It opens up their minds. And you have to start by opening up their heart first, and also appealing to the lizard brain, the fear brain that's triggered in this constant state of fear and anxiety. And that is how you get them from point A to point B, especially with a larger investment and a larger commitment, one of time and one of travel and one of something that is maybe esoteric in nature, because coaching by itself, unless one of the things that you learn when you work with an executive is coaches need coaches. And the average high-performing executive invests 25% of their income into additional personal development and coaching. So those are some of the things that we learn. So if you want to be a high performer, you got to behave like a high performer. And high performers are not in a constant state of overwhelm and burnout.
Ooh, so good. So this next one is somewhat related. It's related to having no time because of being busy. But the specific objection is, I already travel too much. I can't spend any more time away from my family.
Okay. And I know exactly, so you always open up with, I know exactly how that feels. And that's exactly what a lot of people that first get into strategic coach have to say. And then again, what I try to do is I transition into a story of someone just like them. Okay. So one of the salespeople at Strategic Coach, his name's Reggie. He's got 2 stories that he brings up on a regular basis. And this is, again, why we capture testimonials and transformational journeys. We want to meet the prospect exactly where they are with someone just like them. Now, of course, if you could copy paste a short video that a current client sent to you, and you could say, hey, check this out. I'll even wait while you watch this. I've got a client just like you who said the exact same thing. It's a minute-long video. What's your mobile number? I'll just drag and send it to you right now, and I'll sit here while you watch it. Okay. That's one technique that's super powerful that very, very few salespeople actually use. But being able to stay in rapport and stay in the timing of the conversation is also important. So here's what Reggie would say. Okay, one of my clients that I'm responsible for, his name's Jerry. He lives in Chicago. Now, he came to Chicago for one of the meetings, and they got so snowed in. So he ended up staying an extra day. Now, after the 4th workshop, so that's 1 a quarter, so a year, he came up to Reggie and he said, look, Reggie, when we started this, you said that I was going to make more money. I have so much more quality time with my family and kids because my use is much better. I'm not making more money, but I'm actually using that extra day to feel more connected. And I'm going to bring this back to the original objection, which is one of the things that I do is I ask someone, I say very often the challenges that are going on inside our head is someone else's voice inside our mind. So let me ask you a question. Who is it who says you travel too much? And they'll be like, it's my wife. And my little girl, she's 4 years old. She's like, Daddy, don't go, don't go, don't go. And again, these are things that would come up in the initial conversation when we're asking the DOS questions, the dangers. Tell me about the biggest challenges your spouse has with you and your business right now. What do your kids say? How old are your kids? I want to gather that data. But the whole point is, what happens is usually someone has a voice inside their head. It might be an old parent. And we as entrepreneurs are governed by the traumas and old pains that we have that were often inflicted by someone else's voice and someone else who lives inside our head. And until you have an advisor and a coach and a system and a process in your life, you're going to be haunted by those ghosts and those voices. And in a way, and again, I'd go so far as to say this is like therapy. It's like business therapy for entrepreneurs. And it is a lonely world when you don't have anyone to talk about what's really going on, and you got to put on that happy, smiling face and talk about how great things are when they aren't. So, what would it be worth to you to have peace of mind and time freedom for the first time in your life, and an investment where 1 day a quarter gave you 4 or 8 or 12 back? But more importantly, installed a new operating system in your mind that you got to take with you for the rest of your life. And what would that increase in intimacy with your spouse and your children and yourself and your God be like? If someone's spiritual, I don't hesitate to bring that up, their connection with God and spirit. And so here's another aspect of that, which is I already travel too much. I can't spend time away from my family. So if time and money is your biggest challenge, the biggest thing that you have to deal with, and again, another variation of this is I need to make sure that these things are in place first before I can attend and make a commitment. Okay. So someone's going to push off and have a reason why they can't. And it's like, look, you don't come in knowing what you need. And I asked them a probing question, which is, how long have you been living with this situation? How many things do you push off? And how often does this come up? And do you deal with this with your own clients and customers who say the same thing to you? Okay. And until you solve that problem, you sure as heck aren't going to overcome it for yourself. So if time is your biggest challenge or money is your biggest challenge, you don't come in here knowing what you need. And more often than not, what you need and what you want are two different things. And I know that this is a big investment of time and money. But in the case of Jill, her investment paid for itself after the second workshop because she got the gift of clarity. And what you need right now is clarity and a system and an organization to get you and keep you out of the trap. And the reason why you don't have time is because you don't have a system, you don't have clarity. And Coach's biggest promise is that you get freedom. It's time freedom, it's money freedom, it's relationship freedom, and freedom of purpose. And even if you just make a new connection or a new relationship, or you walk away with one or two ideas that you're able to come back with and implement or share with your team, just the mindset shift alone is going to get you out of the trap you're in. And what you are feeling is a trap, and this is a way out of that trap. So again, lots of data, lots of things. You could just use elements of this. One paragraph of that is enough to flip the script depending on who they are.
So good. And I'm also reminded of a Dan Sullivan quote, "The problem is never the problem. The problem is how you think about the problem."
Yeah, isn't that it? What a wise man that Dan Sullivan is.
I know. So here's another one though, because, and this is highly common with entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
Business won't function without me.
Ugh.
I don't have a team. I can't leave.
Yeah. So one of the biggest concepts and one of the focus areas of Dan is he brought in a new concept. It's a book called Who Not How. One of the great things about attending a strategic coach experience and event is you receive a book every quarter. It's actually sent to you. And then that becomes one of the focus areas. So when you attend a live event at Strategic Coach. Now, by the way, I just want to pop into meta mode for a moment and explain what I'm doing. I am describing the experience of what Strategic Coach is like, so you know what it's like to be there, and I'm personalizing it for that person's objection. So no matter what product or service you have, this is called the during frame. Okay, remember we talked about the before frame, what life was like before, the during frame, what it's like when we go through it and right before your big transformation, and the after frame. That's what life is like after for you, your family, your team, and whoever else. So back to it, it's like you show up at the event, you work on a challenge, and one of the key concepts you have is who, not how. You learn how to who up your business, now not how up your business. I like to tell people when I have these conversations is I say, you are stuck in how pies. Now, to anyone who's ever grown up in the Midwest, we used to play games out in a cow pasture, and one of the worst things that could happen is you'd step in a cow pie. I think that's the analog equivalent of stepping in a how pie is when you focus all your time, all you get are stinky feet when you're in the how. Okay. The who pie is when you find someone who's going to do all that for you and bring you a warm apple cinnamon baked pie, which I think smells like heaven. So our goal here is at Strategic Coach, you learn how to who up your business. Okay. Strategic Coach gives you the freedom that you need. And most people find that after just one meeting, one tool, one resource, one idea will change your experience within a meeting or two. Again, I like to focus on anytime I'm selling coaching or advising, I like to say what you need is an operating system upgrade for your mind. And Strategic Coach is a new way of thinking. It's a mindset. It's a vocabulary. It's a language that all entrepreneurs need to learn. And you know how it is when you learn some vocabulary words and you get to communicate with someone on your level, you can communicate a concept with 1 or 2 words. And for someone who's not educated and doesn't understand this, no number of words, you could take weeks or months to communicate a simple concept to them because they haven't lived through it. So what you're exposed to at Strategic Coach are books and tools and resources, and you're able to step away from your business for just 1 day a quarter, and you're going to get your time back. So what are some of those tools? Because you're probably wondering, what are those tools right now? Again, what I'm doing is I'm giving you specific examples. So one of them is you learn something called the Entrepreneurial Time System. You're given a tool. It's a planner. Who, not how. Okay. You're taught to think differently about your business, and you get team building and team management skills. And by the way, there are tools and resources available in your membership site that your team can watch and learn so they can get these tools and resources too. So the net result is you not only get your time back, you get to work on your business, not in your business. You steer the ship instead of worry about paddling it every single day with a big ball wrapped around your ankle. Okay. So again, I employed a lot of techniques inside of this. And what I'd recommend you do is either listen to this again or make sure you go download the transcript that we give you, which you can get at paidforlife.com/sales objection. It's also in the notes from this episode, as well as on YouTube if you are watching the episode live, or well, not live, but recorded live in video format. All right, Marissa, what's the next one? And do you have any comments or ideas to organize that any other way?
Well, I love the idea of who, not how. That is an important coach concept, and simply that you're able to build a self-managing team comprised of people who are operating in their unique ability. And I'm using coach jargon intentionally here. There really is this entire ecosystem that you get into, and having that self-managing company, which everybody wants, then the business is able to function without you. So you are future pacing. You're selling them a bigger, better future, which is really exciting to almost anybody. The next one is, I'm uncertain about the economy. I'm uncertain about the near future. I don't want to invest in this just yet because I don't know what's going to happen next. Mike, how would you tackle that one?
Great. So I would respond like this. I'd say, I totally get it. It sounds like what you want to do is make sure that whatever financial resources, tools that you have are available depending on how long you have to weather the storm. But what I do is I would, again, ask some probing questions, and I'd make certain that I'd asked, again, the Dan Sullivan question, which is a future-paced version of what you want life to be like in the next 3 years, knowing what the DOS is, the dangers, opportunities, and strengths. So here's how I would respond. And you'd want to do this no matter if your organization's been around for a little while, you want to rely upon the stability and the systemization. So here's the response. So one of the things that's really important about Strategic Coach is, first of all, it's been around for 35 years. It has weathered financial storms and crises, whether it's the 2008 financial crises, 9/11, and then going back to the 70s and the 80s. I mean, really big pains, or the 80s on, rather. And one of the things that you're going to find is Strategic Coach members know that over 35,000 people have gone through the program. Over 3,000 are in there right now. They've built businesses that are competition and recession proof. That is one thing that you'll find. And more importantly, you're learning a mindset. You're learning how to keep your stuff together no matter what's going on in the outside world so it doesn't affect you. You're learning the discipline so you can work on your business, not in your business. You're going to get the time, the money, the relationship, and purpose freedom, but also cash confidence, knowing that you can always weather the storm. You can innovate and create your way through it and find new opportunities because you've got a better operating system. And learning how to separate you and your identity and your self-worth from your business is one of the key secrets to that. So what you are bothered by right now is uncertainty. And by being in this environment, being around other entrepreneurs who've lived this and gone through it, some of them at your level, some of them decades in the future, just being around those people, whether it's virtually or in person, is going to positively affect you. So what you need is the constitution and mindset to deal with these challenges that are out of your control so you can walk away and be able to manage it. So you can't control your outside world, but you can control your inner world. So how does that sound to you? How does that feel to you? How would it feel if you knew that that problem just wouldn't bother you at all after just a couple experiences or meetings, in addition to all the other tools and resources we've talked about so far? So you see how I bridge that together? What I'm looking for is a confirmation and also a feeling. So oftentimes their fear state is their headspace. They're reacting and responding. What I want to do is ask them a feeling and an emotion question. I want to get them back to their heart and ask them a future-paced question. What would it feel like right now if you could just give up thinking that way and feeling that way and being in a state of pain, and in a place where you knew that no matter what, you'd have cash confidence in the future, and also had a model that's been replicated for decades that you could employ and use right now? How would that feel?
Wow.
Yeah.
Immediately, a bit more clarity, a bit more confidence, and certainly I would feel understood and listened to and heard.
Mm-hmm. Now, one thing that I will say is if you're not a salesperson, you might be listening to me going, oh my God, I could never learn all these things that Mike's doing right now. How does he remember this stuff? It just came from practice. Part of it's I've heard every imaginable objection, and I've worked with so many individuals. Literally at this point, I think I've had around 70,000 clients and customers, and I sold on stage. I did platform speaking. I've done phones, I do webinars. I've done all this, and I've seen the chat rolls, where we'll have 6,000 people on a webinar years ago. Now there's usually hundreds or maybe around 1,000. But by this time, I've seen it all. I've heard it all. Every excuse, every objection. Here's what's important. People want to buy a transformational experience. I don't care if you're selling Oreo cookies or you're selling $1 billion yacht or a vacation or therapy counseling or real estate or financial, whatever it is, it's all the same thing. And when you learn to ask better questions, which the framework again is the Dan Sullivan question and the DOS questions, you listen. What I do is I write everything down. I also, because I do all these via Zoom, after I introduce myself and I build a little rapport, I'll say to the person, hey, if you'd like, I'll record this for you and send you the video when we're done. And you can look at it, because very often when we have these conversations, you'll learn a lot about you, and being able to reference that might be super useful later on. Is that okay with you? And I've never had someone say, no, I don't want that. I click the record button. I go, now, just so I can send this to you as soon as we're done, why don't you just tell me what your mobile number is right now? And I'm just going to text you my contact info, and then I'll follow up with the link as soon as it's done processing. I've never had someone say no. And now I've got the gateway into their pocket. Okay. They've got their phone on them all the time, and I'll follow up with them along with a mini summary video, but I am taking notes. So I've got a Google Doc open, just like we have right now, Marissa, and I have a document with every note, and I'm listening to these keywords. Now, the other thing I frequently do is I'll run Otter, OTTER, .ai, which does real-time transcription, so I can look at what they are saying in real time as well. Now, if I can see what they're saying, I can hear what they're saying, and I'm typing, I'm active in there, and I'm looking at them too, the level of engagement is insane, and I can reflect their language patterns, their words, and their values back to them in real time. And that is simply I can guarantee you your sales conversions will triple at a minimum, and I will say quintuple. And I can speak to this because I've taught this system now, and someone who's working with us right now, He just had another enrollment today, by the way, Marissa. Okay.
Come
A
on.
cold email came in last night. So he's currently at 7 out of 7, and he just started with us. So I can tell you that just sharing those techniques alone will completely change the way you do business and the level of enrollments, especially if you are doing a higher ticket professional services business. But I would go so far as to say it'll work for anything. And by getting the permission of the person, by saying I will provide the value, and in fact, I'll say, and if you'd like, I'll even record and send you the transcript of this. Is that okay? Bam. You've got permission. Now you've got all the data, and I keep track of that too. So that was a big bonus in between here. But the point I'm trying to get at is because we're giving you the transcript for what I'm giving you right now, you get used to using these language patterns. You'll start hearing them over and over again. You'll realize that no sales conversation is actually unique or different. So, all right, what's the next one?
Well, sometimes even after you've addressed and they agree that the solution, the product, the service is just right for them, they still don't buy and they say, I'm not sure I can commit to this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, here's a good one. Are you married? Do you have children? And I wait. I'll be like, all right. So I'll ask him, I'll say, so what have you committed to in your life? And what are the biggest commitments you've ever made in your life? And I'm going to tell you one of the most powerful bridge phrases in any salesman's arsenal is what else? So what else them? I'll say, no, what else? And what else? And what else? And I write those down and I'll repeat them. Okay, it sounds like this. It sounds like this. And again, we're going to go back to this, which are going back to the Dan Sullivan question, which is, if you and I were meeting 3 years from today, what needs to happen both personally and professionally for you to feel satisfied with your progress? That's the outline of it. Now, what I would do at this point is say, now here's what I'd like you to imagine. A little while ago, you told me that when I asked you what you want 3 years from now, you said that you want to take 2 months off per year. You want to increase your personal income by double. You'd like to grow your business to being $10 million a year in revenue and be able to sell it in 4 or 5 years. Is that what you said? Okay, good. So just a moment ago, when you answered that question, and you also shared with me this, and this, but here are the dangers and the opportunities and the strengths. What you did share with me is, and I'd reveal their biggest pains, which I guarantee you are going to be some variation of, you're too busy, you're stuck, you don't have a right fit team, you don't have systems in place, you spend most of your time outside of your unique ability, and you're busy being busy, and you feel like you're working on your business, not in your business, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's just the same old stack, okay? So what would it be like if you stayed stuck in the same place? Oh, and then I'd ask them one clarifying question. How long have you been running that racket and sitting in this space and using this as an excuse? And they're like, oh, you got me. I go, I didn't get you. I just asked you a question. You're like, nah, you got me. Okay, so what would it feel like if you stayed stuck like this for 2 more years or 3 more years? By then, they're like, okay. And I go, no. How's that going to affect your marriage, your relationship with your kids, the hobbies? By this time, they're like, no, stop. And I go, no, your golf, the fact that, and they're like, no, you're right. Now, this is an identity frame. It's when all you're doing is you're letting them see what their future's like. Tony Robbins calls this the Dickens process, where he puts you in a negative future pace and then you destroy that frame. But, you ultimately ask them, what's the price of freedom and what are you willing to sacrifice? And would it be worth risking 1 day a quarter for 1 year to get your life back? Now, at this point, as usual, with every single one of these, I'd like to open up with a story. So I would say, I'm not sure I can commit to this. And it could be, again, I just thought of two ways to do it. One of them would be like, look, less than a year ago, I was talking to one of our clients. His name is Frank. And I'd tell a story about Frank, who is uncommitted, and what his life was like before. It's always easier to hear a story about someone else, especially when they're a less than. Okay. We think we're better. So if you tell a story about someone who seems less than you, but at the end of the story, they're further along than you. So what you experience in real time is, God, if I would have known that a year ago, I would have made a commitment earlier. Okay. So I used to tell a story about someone who made a commitment today, and then someone who came back to me 5 years later and said, I'm a jackass. I watched so-and-so who was at the same event as I was, who made it big. And this guy is a multimillionaire now, and I'm still doing blah, whatever blah is, and it rhymes with dog poop, right? It's just a horrible situation. And so they need to see their own life through someone else's lens. But again, this is the critically important part of gathering social proof. Now, some people in the financial services and financial and money world might say, well, I can't use testimonials. But you can tell stories of transformation. You can't make promises about money, but you can teach principles and ideas and concepts that result in lifestyle changes. Okay? So I don't care who comes up to me with some kind of the reason why I can't. That's called riding the sissy tricycle. Okay? So you got to get off of that thing and take the little pink streamers out of the handle grips and let it go. Oh my God. I know I could get roasted for saying that right now. I just realized, but you know what? I grew up in a little tiny town in Minnesota, and I used to see those little pink tricycles. Move on, Marissa.
I was like,
I just dug myself in a hole there. Oh my God.
All right. Well, mastermind fatigue is real. There are a lot of coaches, a lot of groups, a lot of masterminds. So this next one is countering that specific objection. I already have a coach. I'm already in a group. Why would I pay even more money to join another one? One more thing.
Okay, good. So again, if you can open up with the story of transformation, do it. But what you want to do is go into data gathering mode and go, oh, that's awesome. How many groups are you in? How long have you been participating in groups like that? So whose is it? What kind of coaching are you receiving? What's the investment? Notice I never say price or cost. I always say, what's the investment? Okay. And what kind of results have you gotten? And this is, again, where I employ the what else. So what else? What else? Okay. So has it been giving you a good ROI? Hasn't it? And talk and get the good, bad, the ugly, et cetera, et cetera. Now, here's where the strategic coach strength comes in, which is, now Dan is a coach's coach. There's probably a high probability that the people you're going to or seeing have been coached by Dan Sullivan and have been in strategic coach themselves, and it's made them better. So if you're getting value, imagine what you get working with a coach who's been doing this for 35 years, has coached over 35,000 people in every industry you can imagine, and has built systems and processes that just flat out work. And I think I mentioned this to you. If I haven't, there are over 50 original members who are still in the program who've been in it for over 35 years. So this is a proven process. It's a system that has incredible loyalty, but also it's constantly evolving. Every single quarter, there's a new principle in a system and a process. So how would you explain that, along with the fact that some people come from all over the world just to be there for a day? So the reason why is, first of all, if you're in a group and you know it's already making a difference, what if you could join one that would give you an even bigger ROI, or you know what the time value is, which is how many extra days do you get for each day that you invest? So those are the things. And then again, as long as you could be concrete, I do a add or a direct compare if it's not working well, which is, why would you stick around with something that isn't working and isn't getting you the ROI? Would you be willing to give it a try? So that's awesome. Any summaries or any other questions that you'd like to ask on this one?
This one's great. I mean, referencing the benefits, referencing investments they've already made, but also reinforcing your differentiators, why you're different, either based on duration or the type and quality of clients you serve, the experience that you have. It seems like this is a perfect opportunity, almost like a softball toss to,
Yeah, I'd let them convince themselves of what a great investment it is, or let them sit in poopy diapers. It's the poopy diaper clothes. So that's sort of like, why would you stick around with something that doesn't work? Or it's not getting an ROI. Look at this one instead. Now, one thing we know about all entrepreneurs and business owners is they're all shiny object followers and chasers. Strategic coach is not a shiny object. But as long as you know that is a tendency of that mind, that brain, that is something that is a constant. And so, again, I never rely on what I consider to be overt manipulation or, icky manipulative techniques. I'm always, always, always transparent. And I'll even tell them why I'm telling them the story so they see themselves, because I want them to experience a transformation during the conversation. But our objective here is to shorten the sales cycle, to get to the yes with fewer calls. And we know that typically, I don't know, it's something like 7 or 15 or 35 times these days it takes before someone actually makes an investment. I want 2. I want everyone listening and watching this to experience 2. All right, what's the next one?
I love that. Well, sometimes, so there's different levels of programs, and people want the fast track, especially those shiny object syndrome folks that we just talked about. So the objection is, I want to start at the advanced level. Why do I have to start at the beginning or the foundation level?
Okay, this is great. So everyone wants to be special. They think they're a VIP, and they think that they should go to the head of the line and be friends. So what we do now with Strategic Coach specifically, again, I'd want to tell a story. So one of them that I found is, have you ever dated someone or met someone that you really, really liked, and you may have had attraction and a lot of sex appeal, but as soon as you started talking to them, you knew they were going to be a project. Okay. You knew they hadn't done the personal growth. They're offended by stuff. They misunderstood. They didn't pick up on common cues, or they didn't have the life experience and concepts when you tried to communicate and share with them. So think of it like this. Let's say, for example, you decided you wanted to learn chemistry. I don't know why you want to learn chemistry, but let's say you did. And then you found out when you showed up for class that it was actually chemistry 501, and it was being taught in Mandarin, and you only spoke English. Okay. Do you think you'd get anywhere out of that? Do you think there'd be any point to showing up? Probably not. Okay. So here's what's important about Strategic Coach. And the reason you want to begin is, first of all, and I think what's most important is the illusion. And the reason why some people say that is because they believe that it's going to take a whole bunch of time to get to the big results. And one of the things that most people say, again, this is why we open up with a story about someone who started from the beginning and had a quick result from one experience, one idea, or one tool or resource. But more importantly, Coach is a community. It's a language. It's a way of life. It's an entrepreneurial way of thinking. It's an upgrade to your mind. And what you learn are extremely complex ideas in a short period of time. And you get tools and resources that you can bring back to your team and help them get enrolled so that you get closer to what you really want and what you really need, which is freedom. Freedom of time, freedom of money, freedom of purpose, freedom of relationship. And you want extra days or more income, or you want to be able to provide more value everywhere you go. Again, what's important is I want to anchor and re-anchor back to what we learned during the Dan Sullivan question and the DOS conversation, but then tie in this whole idea of saying it in the nicest way, helping them arrive at our conclusion by telling them the story about you don't understand the language that you don't know, and you don't know what you don't know, right? And you can show up that way and it's totally fine. But we want to make sure that you've got the bases covered. You don't go out and play in the Super Bowl when you decided, when you went from playing catch with your papa. You spend years in there. The biggest thing is we're going to shorten that time cycle and that investment so you get to the make the touchdown pass faster.
Oh, I love that. And sometimes there's a bit of a gotcha moment, especially groups that bring together business owners from all different industries. So will this work for me and my specific business? I want something industry specific.
Yes. Okay. Here's what's great about this. First of all, I learned this from a mentor years ago named Joel Bauer. He called it the Mary Kay close. So in Mary Kay, the reason why, and this is the old timey days when you got awarded a pink Cadillac and there were housewives who had a home business. Okay. It was the earliest MLM, in Tupperware days and stuff like that, even pre-Tupperware, I think. But some people might not even know what Tupperware parties are, but I actually remember them. Anyway, the three questions are, is it easy? Does it work? And can I do it? Or will it work for me? And this is an incredibly valuable frame. So I'm going to answer this again, inside and outside of coach. So first of all, inside coach. So first of all, that is an absolute yes. Being a successful business owner has nothing to do with the industry you're in. It has to do with the systems, processes, a supporting community, but most importantly, it's a mindset. Now, here's where we rely on and we include, again, the history. Okay, so if you're in a business and you don't have a history, there's a way around this as well. But for a strategic coach, it's after serving over 35,000 customers over 30 years and having almost 3,000 active businesses in hundreds of industries. Here's what's important. There's key distinctions that make the businesses successful, and they revolve around a few core principles. Okay. They flat out work and they deliver results. And coach couldn't have survived this long with the quality of clients and customers if that wasn't the case. Now, the great news is you have access to a community that helps you connect with an individual coach and your sales individual who introduced you to coach in the first place is happy to make introductions for you to other members who can answer industry-specific questions and most likely industry-specific challenges if they can't be solved directly by what you learn. So you're not only getting access to these principles, but more often than not, one of the things that virtually anyone in any industry finds is cross-fertilization is where true innovation and creation happens. So you're going to find when you're at a live event, being able to partner up in individual groups. That's what the experience is like. You're going to talk to people and you're going to get insights that you wouldn't get if you're around someone who's in the same industry as you. And then if you're working virtually, you get broken up into individual groups as well, and you can network virtually as well. But again, what's important is what you think you want and what you need are very possibly two different things. Again, as usual, I would prefer to open this up with a transformational story of someone just like them who is a hard case. And, let me tell you a story about Eugene. Eugene came here, or Eugenia, or Juan, but he was in the blank business. And again, I'd find someone who's in this obscure esoteric industry who had a pushback about not being able to get what they want, only to find that what his biggest problems were lousy at managing time, constantly stuck in the how, didn't know how to find, hire, and retain right fit people, and. Again, they're all the same general problems that can be fixed with the principles and the tools and resources that are here.
Cool. I love that. Shall we keep going?
Yeah, let's do one or two more. I'll let you control it.
Okay, great. Well, so there is an element here of how you structure an offering. And many business owners, especially now, want an upfront payment. And Strategic Coach is one of these businesses. They do the full payment upfront, and you schedule the whole year in advance.
Right on.
So, yeah, what are the objections around there? Like, why do you pay for the whole year in advance? And why do you collect the full payment upfront?
Or if the other way the question is posed is, well, what's your payment plan? And here's how I respond. I like to start up with a question, and it's something that I've found gets them every time. And I'll ask the business owner, so do you accept payments in your business? Yes or no? Now, have you ever found that the full pay versus the partial pay, is there a distinction and a difference in how they show up, how they value your time, how they what kind of results they get, and what level of maintenance they are? In other words, are they a PITA, a pain in the ass? And invariably, with zero exceptions, the single pay are your best customers, and the multi-pay are an expensive pain in the butt. And then you got receivables, and then you got bill collection, and then you got. It sucks. So I like to ask that question up front, and I would like to say to someone that one of my goals and objections for you is that every one of your clients, first of all, shows up feeling as though they already want to work with you. They're ready to pay you for your value and are super high quality. And I want you to experience that in your business too. So, and I can't be in integrity and provide that for you unless we do the same thing. So I want you to experience the same thing we're experiencing. So, number one, I know for a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs, we live in an environment with a lot of uncertainty, and Strategic Coach is committed to creating certainty, consistency, and a process that's easy to slide into, get used to, and know that you have a strong foundation that never changes. Because what you need more than anything is an improvement in your mindset so that you can show up in your best way possible for your business, for your clients, for your team, for your family, and for you, not in that order. And being able to plan your business and your family life and your vacations around these anchors. So you asked about, why do we have all these dates scheduled in advance? It's because I want you to experience certainty and be able to make commitments, have the discipline, and know that what you're going to receive are the four freedoms: the freedom of time, money, relationship, and purpose. And also be able to start planning your free days and what we call focus days. That's where you're doing stuff. And then your buffer days, which are the in between, getting the other stuff done, right? And our goal is for you to create a self-managing organization. So again, going back to what did I just do there? Why do we pay the whole year in advance? It's because, number one, I want you to experience that too, and we would be out of alignment and out of integrity if we didn't expect the same from our own clients, and that's what we want for you too, okay? And what I've said in the past is, look, you're worth it and I'm worth it. When I have people try to negotiate with me, I'm like, if I negotiate, I'm out of integrity. And this is the way you should be running your business as well. And I want you to experience the discipline and the stability. Okay. So I know I kind of blended two concepts there together. And if you want to ask the second part, I'll dive into that as well, because it's a little more nuanced. Anything you want to add though and reflect?
Well, I love that it is about certainty and consistency, something you can count on. psychologically, wow, what a relationship you're creating.
It is.
And then there's also the discipline. And so let's go to that. Why do you collect the full payment up front? Why is that so important?
Okay. So first of all, one of the core principles and disciplines that you learn inside Strategic Coach is an idea that Dan calls cash confidence. It's the courage and confidence to value yourself and your business and attract clients and customers who value you as well. So we don't ask you to do anything that you shouldn't ask for yourself. And I'm sure that you want to work with clients who value your time, your products, and your services. And you don't want to be a bank, do you? We don't expect you to act like a bank for your clients and customers. That's not your job, okay? Financing their challenges is not your problem. You're here to provide value, and having a container and boundaries and be able to operate within a rule set and have the courage and confidence to say no to something that isn't good for you or your business or your employees or your other clients, or frankly is unfair to them, is also not something that should be. Now, I understand that these are challenges in businesses, but there are other people who can handle that. Most likely there's resources in Strategic Coach who can help you with those. So this is one thing that Dan Sullivan freely says is you're his bank, and he's going to teach you how to think and behave that way and implement systems and procedures in your business to get the same. So you're worth it, and Strategic Coach is worth it. And that's what we want to give to you too. It's that courage, that confidence, and that ability to create containers and say no. And that provides and creates more room for better clients and customers who see that up front. And they're going to follow and feel that leadership in you and in the DNA of your organization and with your team as well.
Wow, that is huge, because the temptation is to take the sale and make it work and figure out the payment plan. And you're right, the ones who ask for the payment plan are a bit trickier.
Yep, they're a pain in the ass. Let's just be honest here. It's okay. Yep. So, and I know we've got a couple more. Do you want to do a couple bonus ones? I know we're running a little bit long this time, but I don't have a problem with that.
Let's do one more.
Okay, let's go for it.
This is a big one for in-person experiences, and especially those who are offering live and virtual, which is a lot of folks.
Yeah.
I don't want to travel.
Yeah. Okay. So in Coach's environment, and here's what I will say, like for us in our consultancy, our boutique that we have with Superpower Accelerator, we've had so many people who've needed help virtualizing and digitizing and dematerializing their businesses and finding more effective ways to enroll clients, attract them, fulfill and deliver. But it does take a different mindset. And one of the most positive things about COVID, and I hate using that word because it dates everything, but it's sort of like it is like a cemetery spike in time. Every business was forced to virtualize and digitize and dematerialize. And what most people found is it actually works really, really well. Now, there's some people who need to work outside of that, but for the most part, it's provided an increased level of intimacy, higher quality productivity, etc. So here's the response and the answer. I don't want to travel. Well, I understand. And the good news is Strategic Coach now has a virtualized offering. So you can experience deep connection, meet and connect, and not have to travel, but still get access to the full experience and also the tools and resources. And now in the past, and for the past 35 years, Strategic Coach has had clients in India, South Africa, England, France, all over the world who show up for one day and they leave. And they do that because, first of all, Strategic Coach is legendary in its value after being in business 35 years with over 35,000 clients and thousands that are active. And some of the older clients have been in there for over 35 years. But the good news is now you have a choice, which is you can do the virtual experience. You get trained and taught by coaches. You've got access to the resources, but you also get broken up into groups. You get to meet and connect and have intimate connections with people remotely. And there's a certain nuance that you have when you're in a virtual training environment. There's a certain nuance you get with the physical as well. But at least now you can start up, you can get used to this, and more than likely, you'll probably want to upgrade in the future and experience the physical experience as well. So I think the most important thing is those who commit to the physical experience do increase the quality and speed of implementation. And what this is all about is the level of commitment that you're making to yourself, your growth, your family, and your business. So again, in all of these, what is important is gather data with the Dan Sullivan question, with the DOS, and each one of those phrases that I use, I customize them on the fly based upon their values and their responses that they've given me, so they genuinely feel heard, listened to, and spoken to, and that's incorporated in there. And there's one other big idea that I'll leave you with that is really useful for all these is, and strategic coach, we're taught the Kolbe process, the Kolbe personality profile. You have a personality profile, I do. And what you learn is that an individual who is a quick start is more of a gut level, make a decision now and just tell me what I need to know so I can say yes and then move on and get on with my life, versus a high fact finder who wants all the details. They'll listen and learn and listen and learn and say, I need to think about it. The way you present to each of them is slightly different. And like when we work together, you and I, we actually run a Kolbe and an Enneagram, which allows us to customize what we deliver. In strategic coach, knowing who you are makes a huge difference in how you absorb information and knowing yourself better and how you're going to react and respond and engage with your own team. But as a salesperson, understanding, how people ask questions, what level of depth and detail will determine how this is customized as well. So that's something that I've really learned to pay close attention to. And people love getting a horoscope. They want to learn more about their favorite subject, which is them. So what do you say we land this jet airline in the busy airport and bring this baby home? What do you think of that?
Let's do it.
Any distinctions that you'd like to leave us with that you observed that we didn't talk about?
The biggest thing here is there is this transfer of certainty that you can have in the sales conversation when you're listening to the exact language that they're using and then referencing that throughout, reinforcing client stories who have gone through similar challenges, overcome them, and come out better the other side. When you're able to stack that with the history of your organization, the unique benefits and distinctions of the experience, and how those unique benefits and distinctions will directly help them address challenges, help them create freedom, clarity, confidence. Boy, it's pretty tough to imagine an objection that you couldn't overcome, that you wouldn't be able to counter with something that is genuine, authentic, data-backed, proven. And I can't imagine a way to improve the sales process in that way, because so many people get bugged out about sales and it feels slimy and icky, but this is not slimy and icky. This is simply telling the truth, telling stories of real people, real transformations, and explaining in no uncertain terms why your business is different.
Yeah, and what's great about it is you're building a reusable Lego construction kit that can be stacked in an infinite number of ways, and building this library based upon all these common objections, which exist in every single business, becomes a mindset. It becomes a practice. It's like doing yoga. You've got a fixed number of poses that you go through that unravel and unlock the body and loosen and limber you up. And it results in an outcome of unity. And that's really what I would call this. It's really sales yoga that we're going through right now. Just made that up. Trademark.
I love that. It's already done.
Okay, good. Awesome. This is what it's like to work with us, ladies and gentlemen. So to bring this home, here's what we have for you. First of all, if you're not already a Strategic Coach member, go to Strategic Coach. Fill out the application and have a conversation with one of the enrollment experts there. It is an incredible experience. Marissa and I are both graduates and participants in the program, and it is just always life-changing for both of us. Secondly, there's just this huge, beautiful community that are there to help you grow and flourish. And I can't recommend it enough. And that's why we're helping them grow and build the enrollment process and also automating their marketing too. And we can't go by without a little shameless plug about us and the Superpower Accelerator. So if you'd like to learn a little bit more about Marissa and I and working with us and being able to build systems like this and architecting sales conversations, building your brand and elevating you to the highest place possible, we'd love to speak with you. And you can visit paidforlife.com/apply. There you can fill in an application. One of us will follow up with you. And you'll find out more about what it's like to go through the experience. You can also head on over to my website, which is paidforlife.com, and there are links on the page that'll guide you through a little video and some other materials that you can download and experience as well. So is there anything I should add for that, Marissa, before we officially drop this baby down to the ground?
I can't think of a single thing. That was awesome.
All right. Well, the next step is yours to take. Make sure you like, you comment, you share this with one or two people who can benefit from an elevated sales conversation. And remember, you can head on over and get the transcripts and information from this conversation, these two podcasts that we did at paidforlife.com/sales objection. And I realize now that's not really a great domain. So I'm also going to call it paidforlife.com/sales amplifier. That's much better. Yeah. Could have come up with that. Either way, we'll make both links work so you can get the information. You can also get it in the liner notes. This is another episode of Capability Amplifier. We've enjoyed spending time with you, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.